Hi everyone. Thank you for joining Doc's live webinar, Microsoft Power BI. If you guys don't mind muting your mics, I hear there's a lot of background noise. Thank you. All right, so today's webinar will be conducted by myself, Heather Crouch, and my colleague Brandon Kittredge. I will first describe a brief introduction about Doc and some of our capabilities, and then Brandon, who is one of our Power BI specialists, will guide you through an informational demonstration on how to connect your data sources from Power BI, how to transform your data into stunning visual tools, and how to share them with colleagues on different devices, and how to collaborate on shared customized dashboard or interactive reports on SharePoint. And then he'll go through a live examples of Power BI reports and dashboards. So after Brandon's completed his demonstration, we'll then open up for question and answer. If you guys think of any questions at any point during the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and one of our experts will answer them promptly. So a little bit about Doc. We're a Microsoft Gold certified partner, and we specialize in SharePoint. We've been in business a little over 17 actually years now, and we started out working with very large enterprise clients, building completely custom SharePoint Intranet solutions from the ground up. But we realized that a lot of businesses can't really afford to wait 6 to 10 months to have a solution up and running. So we came up with Doc, which is a pre-built intranet solution that can be deployed anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks typically, and still be surprisingly customizable based on your specific need. So at Doc, we've used many resources such as Power BI to build a collaborative business solution built specifically for you and your business. Over our 17 years of business, we've worked with many businesses of all sorts to establish an intranet solution built on SharePoint that will help them meet their mission critical goals. So having an intranet based on SharePoint such as Doc will help you and your business to thrive in the sense of communication and collaboration. You'll empower your team to work together using modern tools that help automate business processes. You'll be able to keep employees informed on the latest news, announcements, and promotions going on in your company. You'll be able to share information at your fingertips to employees across the globe in order to increase employee productivity and also assure that your employees are informed. And you can do all of that even while they're on the go. You'll also be able to manage your projects, tasks, and team schedules and be able to monitor all the progress. You'll be able to generate highly interactive reports using Power BI, and you'll be able to see all ticketing requests in one place. And then you'll also be able to automate your task assignments by creating different workflows. You'll also be able to provide and assign training to all employees and set reminders for employees to participate. You'll be able to create, store, and share training content and generate training reports, and also search for frequently asked questions within our learning management solution. So what you're seeing now, this is a site we have running live on Office 365. So everything you're seeing here can be completely custom to your own specific needs and requirements and your own branding. So as you can see here, you have carousel control where you can get across different videos embedded into the site to your whole team. You can have different notifications scrolling across here as well if you have different alerts coming up, and they can also be sent to your employees via email. You have a corporate app store for your tools, your internal resources that can be customized by whichever user is logged in. And you also have upcoming events, a Let's Celebrate section where you can see, who has a birthday, anniversary, any new hire information. Integrate social media into the site anywhere by having live feeds of your social media sites, and also integrate Microsoft's Yammer where you can communicate with your teams regardless of where they are in the world. Another capability that we have on the site is news and announcements. So you can have your featured news or any of your news published on the home page where your employees will come in to their one-stop shop on this home page, be able to utilize all of the information that is going on within the company. So I noticed there are a lot of credit unions that have signed up for this specific webinar. We do have a lot of credit union clients, so I just wanted to briefly show you just a couple capabilities that we've done with credit unions. So this is another example of a demo site, or this is another example of a site that you can have for your intranet, where you can have unlimited number of departments, can even, you know, organized by your branch or your corporate levels. We do have employee directory and policies and procedures. And the employee directory can be customized however you want it to look and feel, and whichever fields you want shown here. You know, you can have just a photo only, you can have very detailed views, and you can add in which things you want shown here by simply editing the page. We also have created a highly interactive search capability by tagging documents. So this is one we created for credit unions, where you can tag by whichever type of document it is. We also see a lot of businesses tag by which department that they are in. So if you're looking for a risk management document, for example, you would just click on that tag and all of those policies and procedures would come up that way. So that way you can easily be able to search for what you're looking for. This can also be done within department sites as well. So that's just a brief overview of Doc. I mean, there's tons of capabilities. Just wanted to give you guys an introduction about who we are and what we do. So now I'll turn it over to Brandon, who will take you through some of Power BI.
Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen real quick. All right. So, a lot of you are coming to this webinar for Power BI specifically, and of course. So, what makes Power BI so significant? Well, we live in a world of unprecedented change. Around 100 years ago, it was around 70 years. The lifespan of a company on average on the S&P 500 years. Now the average lifespan is closer to like less than 15 years, and 75% of companies are ones that, or 75% of companies in 2020 will be not on the index today. So, with that said, it's important to develop a data culture in your business, which will create an environment that allows individuals and employees to be empowered through the data at their fingertips. And data culture is an effective tool that will empower your organization to do great things. You can actually see the amount of data is continuing to grow, and making sense of that growing data is critical for business success. According to the IDC, the amount of data that is worth analyzing will double by 2020. Data is the new currency, and by 2020, data monetization efforts will result in enterprises pursuing digital transformation initiatives, increasing consumption of their own data by 100-fold or more. Also, over 80% of enterprise IT organizations will commit to hybrid cloud architectures encompassing multiple public cloud services by the end of 2017, and nearly 50% of survey respondents already use SaaS. So respondents saved 14% by using public cloud services. So why is that also important? Also, as far as profit goes? Well, according to the IDC, organizations that are able to analyze all relevant data and deliver actionable insight will achieve an extra $430 billion in combined productivity and benefits by 2020. And according to Keystone, organizations evolving how they leverage data analytics and cloud generate, the cloud generate an average of an extra 100 million, or 8 percentage points of operating income per year. Also, according to, According to Gartner, customers gain 14% savings in CAPEX, software costs, IT staff, and paying for what you need. So you're gaining more money and saving money all in the same. So this is the modern BI platform. You have your data in your company and it's in the cloud. And that data is modeled however you want it to be modeled. You can set up how you want your relational data to be. And then there's analyzing and authoring provided in the Microsoft products and the way they have the software. And then that is delivered to your employees and your clients in the form of reports. And this is Microsoft's model that they've designed for demonstrating how easy it is to integrate Power BI with services that you may already have on premises. So there's lots of support for things like SQL, Excel, and Power BI Desktop will help you to use those things and publish it to the web in a much easier manner than you might with some other product that would require more steps for integration. So one of the big emphases of Power BI is that it stores data in the cloud, and that allows for certain things that you don't usually get with regular data reporting. So it gives you the ability to harness data from things like Excel spreadsheets and on-premises data, like I just mentioned. It also has out-of-the-box SaaS content packs that deliver a curated experience with pre-built dashboards. And it also has things like live dashboards, a natural language query, custom visuals, and integration of Power BI with the Microsoft stack. So these are just some features that you might see in Power BI. You can get dashboards in minutes. Like I said, there's a natural language query. You just type in a sentence and it will pull the data for you as long as that, or just like that, like electricity from coal, nuclear gas per year in the USA. Boom, the data's pulled up. It also has quick insights for you that will help you with data analysis. Cortana integration. It has live dashboards that you can see. Custom visualizations for you to use data on. You can publish it to the web to use on places like Sharepoint. You can integrate it with Microsoft Service apps like in Excel and publish it right to Power BI. And you can also use Power BI Mobile to get it on your phone. So it's really easy to create powerful reports with Power BI Desktop. And I'm actually going to be showing that in a little bit here. It also will connect the data around you using multiple data sources. You can make reports and publish it straight to the web. And Excel uniquely allows users to perform ad hoc analysis, blending structured and unstructured data together for analysis in the familiar Excel environment, which is an interesting tidbit. Power BI Desktop also provides a free-form canvas for drag-and-drop exploration of your data, an extensive library of interactive visualizations, and authoring experience to create visual and interactive reports for business and end users to view and explore. And once you're done with all of your Power BI reporting in the desktop app or in Excel or wherever, you can just do a one-click publish to the web, and then you can grab that link on the online Power BI platform. So now I'm just going to go through and show a quick demo of how to set up your Power BI with some relational data and get some basic visuals in there. Select Power BI Desktop. You can also do this online, but I like to use the desktop version because the functionality is a little different, and so is the user interface. But you can still do all kinds of things in both. So when you get into Power BI with a new report, first thing it's going to do is pull up this prompt and asking you if you want to get new data or anything like that. Just in case you were to go in there and accidentally close out of that, though, you can also get data here. And what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go to Online Services and pull some data from Sharepoint that I have. And on there, I've set up a small-scale relational database using a couple SharePoint lists. It's just a simple, extremely simple expense reporting solution. I have a list of expense reports, a list that has what types the expense reports might be, and a list that has the statuses they might be as well. So that would be these three lists right here. I'll go ahead and load those. And that's all you have to do to get your data into Power BI. I should mention that when I was getting the data from SharePoint, it was asking me for a link. All I have to do is provide the link for the subsite that the lists reside on if you use SharePoint, and select the list just like I did there. And then you have your data in here already, and you're almost good to use it. One thing that I'm going to check, because this is relational data, is I'm going to go in here and edit my relationships. Now, Power BI, when you do put data in here that is relational, it will try to set up the relationships for you. Depending on how you have that set up, though, it's not always going to be that way. So I am going to delete these relationships because what it's trying to do is connect this ID to this ID. And what I want it to do, if you see how I have my list set up here, is in my expense reports list, I have the status ID and the type ID, and that ID will correspond to the ID in either the types or the statuses list. So you can just go either way. It'll automatically determine which, whether it's many-to-many, one-to-many, whichever, and you can drag it. I think I actually dragged that to the long one. Yeah, okay. And so you can just drag I have the two fields that are connected, you can just drag them together. This is types, and this would be statuses. And now if I hover over that relationship, you can see which fields are related. And the important part of this step is now when I go in to make a report, it'll automatically pull the data from these lists when I use or it'll automatically pull the data from this list when I use these, like the titles and stuff. So I don't have to worry about trying to create a chart and it just pulls up numbers instead of the titles of things. So the first thing I'm going to do with making a report, which by the way, this is where you can see the actual content of your tables. This is where you can see the relationships, and this is where you can see the report that you're making. As someone who's tried to use SSRS before, I'm aware that this is a much, much easier way to do that, and I'm happy to be using this and not something like that. Not to knock on that if anybody does still use that, but maybe this is a little bit of a better option for most people. So I'm going to go ahead and make a table with data, and all I have to do is just drag in the fields that I want. So I'm going to drag in my title of the expenses. I'm going to drag in the amount, and I'll drag in the, where do I have this? I will drag in the title from the type list, because what that's going to do is it's going to pull the titles from this list, and it's going to check which ID using that relationship is in my actual expense reporting list, and it's just going to show the corresponding title to that item that has that ID. And I'll actually show you real quick, just to make a little more sense of that, what that looks like in SharePoint. So in my SharePoint site, I have some expense reports, and I have status IDs and type IDs, and those IDs are corresponding to the titles of those things. And that's some common practice that a lot of people use in their data. So it's important to be able to do that so easily in Power BI. So I did that with my types, and again, I'll show you with the statuses. You just drag the title of the status over to the table, and bam, you have that there. And I don't think I want any other fields from my expense report, so I'm good with that. So now that I have my table here, I can just drag that wherever I want it to be. I can make it larger or bigger. I can even go in here and edit the styling of it, or the position. I can change the way the text is. I can turn a title on or off. All kinds of stuff like that. That's something that's fun to play around with because you can really get the styling you want. Oops. So then, after I'm done with my table, I'll just click outside of it, and now I'm going to add a pie chart. And what I want to do is I want to make a pie chart that says how many of these are a transportation versus marketing versus that type of stuff, what type of expenses they are in this pie chart. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add the title of the type into the legend for the pie chart, and then I'm going to add the ID for the type into the values. So what this is saying is for these expense reports, it's going to count how many of those reports have that ID that corresponds to that title, and then the title will automatically correspond to these. And you can see there's 2 transportation ones, and they're in this too. And what you saw there was there's another functionality in Power BI that's pretty great. If you click on a piece of data, you can actually highlight that data in all of your visuals on the screen. So everything that you do with one visual, you'll see in all the other visuals too, which makes it a really easy way to see things very clearly and in an organized way. So now I want to make another one of these for the statuses, the approved or pending approval or that type of thing. So I'll go in here, make another pie chart, and do the same thing I just did. I'll put the title for the statuses under the legend, and I'll put the ID for the statuses under the values. And now I have this here, and you can already see it's already starting to look like a report on my expenses, and I can actually use this to visually at a glance see how many of my expenses are this type, how many of my expenses are approved or denied. But let's say I don't want to view it for everything. What if I only want to view it for expenses that are for transportation? Well, other than clicking on this, I can also make a slicer, which is just going to filter the data. So I can go in here, and what I'm going to put in there is the title for the type, which is what's in that graph, the transportation that I want to do. So now if I only want to see transportation, I can just check this off, and I can see that one of those is paid, one of those is approved, those are over here, it's 50-50, or I can do that with entertainment and see that it's only one for hotel or marketing, anything like that. And I can make a slicer for whichever I want over here too. You could even do it with the amount if you wanted to, and it would do that. But for that, you would want to go in here and turn it into like a slider or something like that, which you have the ability to do. So that's a basic overview of how you can get a quick report going in Power BI. Just adding some different tools into the reporting page and drag and drop, and it's really easy. It takes like 5 minutes and you're done. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A, I guess. So let's do that.
Brandon, we had a question in the chat. Is it possible to discuss how to connect Google Analytics and Power BI?
I haven't used Google Analytics, so I won't really have a way of discussing that. But if you give us like your email or something, I could probably check that out for you and tell you if there's a good way to do that, or how you would do that. Okay. Also, that poll that we had at the beginning, we can bring that back up in case anybody didn't get to input their answer, but there we go. So while we have this poll up, and while we're doing Q&A, are there any other questions about Power BI or about how to set it up? Oh, how do I share this on the Sharepoint Intranet? That's a good one. Okay, I can go over setting it up on the Sharepoint Intranet. I'll share my screen again in just a little bit. For the other ones, demonstrating using maps and SQL Server, there actually is a map one in the reporting. In the report section, there's a map tool right there, and you can do it that way. I don't have any good data for using it with maps right now, though, so it would be kind of a hassle to trudge through it. So I don't really have a way of demonstrating that. I apologize. I also don't have any easy-to-use SQL Server data on hand either, so I apologize for that one too. The interesting thing about Power BI and which is kind of the hard thing about trying to demonstrate it, is that there's so many different things that you can connect it to, kind of like Power Apps, that you can't really be prepared to show every single aspect of it. So I can show any examples that have to do with like SharePoint, but I don't have any data on my computer currently set up for things like SQL Server or something like that. So I do apologize for that. But I'm going to go ahead and answer that question about the SharePoint intranet. It looks like we've got some pretty good poll numbers already. So I'm going to share my desktop again and share back on this monitor. All right, so I have this pulled up right here on SharePoint. Let me get out of here and go back into Power BI. So if I wanted to put this on my intranet, you would want to publish it to Power BI, and that's going to make you save your changes. And it's also going to make me save it to the desktop, so I'm just going to say webinar. And you can choose which workspace. I have to do this because I'm doing it from the desktop, so if you were doing it online, you might not have to go through all these steps. But since I have this published to Power BI, now I can go in here, make sure I'm logged into my account, and it will pull it up online. And I need to do this in order to get it onto SharePoint. So I guess this account doesn't have Power BI Online, so that's odd. I was using a different one for my last one I made. But when you go on to the Power BI website and go into that Power BI portal, you'll see an option for an embed link that you can get from the report. So what you do is you go into the report online, you click the share button, I believe. I can't see it right now because I'm not able to pull it up. And once you do that, there's an option for an embed link. You take that embed link, and then when you go to SharePoint, you can add a web part onto a page. And once you do that, you paste that embed link into the web part. Does it automatically refresh when? Okay. Just a second. So for creating buttons, week 1, week 2, are you saying for the question about creating buttons for like week 1, week 2, and changing the data dynamically? Are you saying changing the data in the report or changing the actual data? Because if you were doing that in the report, you would want to do the you would just want to use something like a slicer for changing the way you view the data, because there's different ways to use that, and you can set that up in ways that make it easier to see in the report visually. Yeah, so yeah, you can actually filter it by the date. So it's been a while since I've done that one specifically, but when you go into the slicer itself, yeah, you actually will just you would make like a slider, and you could drag the date, or you could select the dates that you want in between, and you would do it that way. You couldn't really do a button that goes month to month, but it would effectively be able to function the same. It just wouldn't look that way. And let me see, as far as the other ones, for publishing it to SharePoint, there was a question asked, can you do that with the free version of Power BI, or do you need a pro license? I believe you need a license, but I could be wrong on that. If you look up the different levels of Power Apps licenses, usually they have a page that'll tell you. And does the published Power BI report automatically refresh when the data source like Excel spreadsheet has a new data? That I don't know, but I don't think it would unless your Excel was like an online sheet or something like that. If it were like on the desktop, it wouldn't though. I don't think. The user would see when the Power BI report is published. I think I have an example. Let me see if I can pull it up. We actually have this on our one of our demo sites, and we use it to display, I believe, contract information. So if I'm able to pull that up for you, that'd be a really good example. If not, I could probably show you on this tenant somewhere else. But regardless, if you put it into SharePoint, a report like this, it'll look almost exactly like it does in this reporting section right here. All right, here's an example of a report that I've made for our contract management portal. And this is what I'm talking about with the dates. This is how you would set it up right here. But what this is we actually have a web part that is accepting this embed link the same way the Power BI one would, but it's just showing you this web part instead. But this is our contracts portal on one of our sites. And as you can see, this looks really similar to how it would be designed in here. So this is a good example. You can also do the different pages of reports and do it that way. Is there any way to modify a status from the visual Power BI to complete or modify contracts? You can't edit the data from inside of Power BI. Power BI is how you would visualize the data. So you wouldn't be able to do that now. No problem. You mean this one, or do you mean... Oh, okay. This isn't actually the Power BI site, but if you went on to see your Power BI stuff, I actually am logged in this tenant, so I should be able to pull this up now, which I could show how to embed it to SharePoint too. So I would go into this, and you would you have those workspaces. Like when I showed how to publish it in here, it asked for the workspace. When you go to your tenant, you would type in the URL or go to your Office page and go to the Power BI site and just view your reports in here. But accessing it from your intranet portal, you would have to publish it. So I might be able to show you an example real quick. Let me see if there is a way I can add a page here. So if I added a page to my site, I could use a web part. I believe there's one, yeah, specifically for Power BI, there's a web part, and you can add a report in here. What it does is it asks you for the link for that report. So I would go into my contracts reports. I would go to get the link in here, and I would copy and paste that to that right there. So if I copied this and pasted it in here, okay, whoops. This might be asking for the email link, actually, since it's the Power BI web part. But if you needed to, you could also use the embed web part if you were having issues with that. That's all. Just for demonstration, I'll show the embed. There we go. So even if you don't use the Power BI web part, you can still use the embed web part and show it that way. The Power BI one, I assume, has better functionality for it, so it's not going to show up like super big like this. Like you wouldn't have to tweak it a bunch, but yeah, no problem. Any other questions? You can also do a full screen report if you go in here. All right. So if nobody else has any questions, we can hold on a little bit just to see, but in the meantime, thank you for your participation. And Heather?
Thanks, everyone. If you guys have any questions, we'll stick around for a few more minutes. My email address is on the screen that you're seeing now. If you guys have any questions you think of after the call, please feel free to reach out to me. We also mentioned our intranet solution in the beginning. If you guys want to see a free demo of that, please feel free to reach out anytime. I'll also be reaching out here in a couple days to send over a recording of this webinar in case you missed something or if you want to share it with your team. And then, of course, if you have any other questions after that, just shoot me over an email. Thanks, guys. All right, I think it's safe to say there are no further questions at this specific time. So we're going to go ahead and drop off the call. If you guys, again, if you think of any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.